With the release of Viper Commandos just about a week and a half ago, Helldivers 2 officially has 5 premium Warbonds. Remember, they never expire and all of them cost 1,000 super credits, which can slowly be accumulated in-game or just straight up purchased with one swipe of your mom's credit card. No matter which route you go to acquire your super credits, they are objectively the most valuable in-game resource. A common question in the community is, what Warbond should I buy? And this is a very valid question, as you want to make sure you spend your valuable super credits on the right one. Whether you're a new player looking to pick up your first Warbond, a veteran that wants to expand your collection, or just a Helldiver that likes to watch other Helldivers talk about things, this video is going to give you a rundown of every Warbond in the game and rank them based on how good each one is. Hopefully this can help those of you with super credits make a more informed decision on in-game purchases. For some context, I have around 300 hours in this game and I've unlocked everything. But remember, my opinion is just one perspective. Ultimately, your choice should align with what you value most in the game. Also, I've ranked these based on how they are currently. However great or terrible each Warbond was the moment they released has absolutely zero relevance here. I am only talking about the present day, and I am ranking strictly based on how much value each Warbond is going to give the purchaser. Basically, I'm looking for a mix of quality and quantity, meaning the items contained have to be good from a functionality perspective, but there also needs to be an ample amount of those items. I will also not be mentioning stuff like player banners and super credits, because these are in every single Warbond. We are looking at the weapons, armor sets, boosters, and anything that sets one Warbond apart from another. Obviously, banners and credits don't do that, so they won't be mentioned. So with all of that out of the way, here's every premium Warbond in Helldivers 2 ranked from worst to best. Starting with number 5, I was really sad to put it here, but after a ton of internal debate, I just had to. It's Polar Patriots. 2 out of the 3 primaries in this Warbond really hit. The Tenderizer is the best AR in the game right now, hands down. Everyone and their grandma should be running this gun if they own it. You can debate the Adjudicator being better all you want, but this gun is just so broken. It has fantastic ergonomics, crazy stats, low recoil, is great at horde clearing, and can one-shot Devastators in the head. The Tenderizer brings it all to the table, no matter if you are playing against automatons or Terminids. The Pummeler is the other primary that actually hits. It's basically a reskinned Defender SMG, except it trades fire rate and a bit of damage for concussive rounds. It's a toss-up between the Defender and Pummeler for the best SMG. Personally, I prefer the Defender against bots and the Pummeler versus bugs, but the Pummeler is a fine choice on both fronts. It's a really solid gun and you can't go wrong ever using it. That said, these 2 weapons can't carry this Warbond out of the gutter. The last primary, the Plas 101, is terrible. It is more stinky than whatever those bile spewers are shooting out of their sacks. It has an unnecessarily long charge time that feels like it's building up to shoot some amazing, devastating shot, but then you just realize, oh, it's basically just shooting the exact same bullets as the Plasma Punisher. So in my mind, it's just a worse version of that weapon. It is slightly decent against automatons, but even after the buffs, I tried to make it work, but I just can't see a reason to invest time into this weapon. The armor is decent, but not remarkable. It includes 2 heavy sets and 1 light set, missing out on a medium. The highlight is the Scout armor, which looks great and has the Scout passive, obviously, and the Scout passive isn't featured on too many armor sets in this game. However, one of the armor sets that does feature that Scout passive is in the free Warbond, so you're really not getting anything new here. Plus, the 2 other armor sets, the heavy sets, they look terrible in my opinion, and the passives aren't great. So yeah, I just don't think the armor is good here, at all. The grenade, however, is good, but it's not unique. It's an incendiary grenade that explodes on impact. I still prefer the original incendiary because it lingers a little bit longer with the AoE effect, which ends up getting more kills. The impact is good, but not enough to boost this Warbond significantly, considering the fact that you get a very similar grenade in a much better Warbond down the line. The impact just doesn't move the needle enough here to boost this Warbond significantly. Lastly, the Verdict Secondary and Motivational Shocks booster are underwhelming. The Verdict is not terrible, but doesn't compare to the great secondaries in the game, especially with the Uzi being available on the free Warbond, which is just a significantly better weapon than this one. On top of this weapon looks and sounds like a Desert Eagle, but hits like a paintball gun. As a CS player, I want my Desert Eagle to hit hard. I feel like Arrowhead edged me a little bit with this one. I'm still salty about it. Motivational Shocks, which allows quicker recovery after being slowed, has aged very poorly after the last patch nerfed enemy slow effects. If you don't know the specifics, the last major patch made enemy slows 20% less effective and gave Helldivers the ability to sprint during slows. So being slowed by acid is no longer that much of a threat as it was when Motivational Shocks originally released. Plus, it is now overshadowed by the Experimental Infusion booster. In summary, besides the Tenderizer, Everything in this Warbond has an equal or better alternative elsewhere. The armor passives are common and most of them look pretty lame. The Defender SMG is arguably better than the Pummeler. Motivational Shocks is a poor man's experimental stims, and the rest isn't even worth mentioning. It's unfortunate because I love the Tenderizer, but it's not enough to save Polar Patriots from last place. In the 4th slot, we have the newest Helldivers 2 Warbond, Viper Commandos. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this one, but just allow me to explain. Before I get into the actual items, this Warbond is by far the best themed, I can admit that. This doesn't have that much of an impact on placement, but if you're all about vibes and thematic, this one is for you. However, outside of the badass theme, the biggest highlight here is the booster. Experimental Infusion buffs stims to give Helldivers a movement speed boost and damage reduction for a short time. I've run it in every single game since this Warbond came out. Initially, I said you wouldn't miss it if you didn't have it, but I now disagree with my own comment. Without this booster, I genuinely feel its absence. Trust me though, I'm not addicted to them, they do not have addictive qualities. The movement buff is fantastic, and paired with the supply pack, you have virtually unlimited stims, allowing you to zoom around the entire map. They also make you feel really good. I mean, it's both useful and fun. It provides a lot of value. Best premium booster in the game, no doubt. Jokes aside, this thing is awesome. The armor sets are a close second to the booster. We get a new passive Peak Physique, and the armor looks amazing. I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I am happy my Helldivers are showing some skin. No, I'm not talking about you, Jane Helldiver mod gooners. Get out of here. The Peak Physique passive provides a decent boost to weapon handling and ergonomics, plus a 50% buff to melee damage. The melee buff isn't that impactful, but the ergonomic buff is quite nice to have. I enjoy using it. Now the secondary, the Bushwhacker. This secondary is in my top 2, just behind the grenade pistol. It comes with 30 rounds, which is a lot for a secondary, and has the same damage stats as the Punisher. It's literally like having a mini Punisher. It's super freaking good. I cannot recommend this secondary enough. Before we get to the cosmetics, let's talk about the 2 biggest misses, the Liberator Carbine and throwing knives. The Carbine is painfully average and is far from the top tier of ARs. It can get the job done in close range situations against lightweight enemies, but let's be honest, what gun can't get the job done against lightweight enemies? The throwing knives are also a huge letdown. They're not worth using over a grenade. At most, a knife kills 1 low-tier enemy, which grenades can kill upwards of 10 with good placement. You only hold 8 knives and can't pick them up, making them very inefficient because at most, your entire stock is only going to kill 8 enemies. Though, they can kill chargers in 4 shots to the leg. This is the only caveat here. But, it seems like this is a glitch because it doesn't make sense that these knives can penetrate the charger leg armor. But even if it wasn't a glitch, I still don't think this justifies their use. I would much rather have a traditional grenade or a utility grenade like a stun. Maybe if you could pick up the knives, they'd be better, but evidently you cannot, so I will be repurposing my throwing knives as kitchen knives on my Super Destroyer. And I will be cooking for Jane Helldiver, just being honest. Lastly, the cosmetics. I typically am not going to mention anything purely cosmetic because all of the Warbonds include things like victory poses, but Viper Commandos is a bit different. Instead of the normal 3 victory poses, it only has 2, but includes a new emote instead. For the first time ever, we also have vehicle skins for exosuits, drop pods, and extraction shuttles, and a unique Warbond title. These are cool additions, but consider this. They've replaced weapons and armor. Typically, Warbonds offer 4 weapons and 3 armor sets, but Viper Commandos has only 2 of each. Everyone's opinion on this will be different, but I see this as a negative. I'd prefer more items that impact gameplay over skins that aren't often noticed. Seriously, I don't even realize that my drop pod and Pelican shuttle have skins on them. I guess that means the camo is doing its job, but if I'm going to be getting skins on my Warbonds, it would be nice if they were a little more prominent in-game. Either way, Arrowhead's choice to have skins over weapons has definitely impacted Viper Commando's placement on my list, landing it in 4th place. I still do appreciate having the cosmetics, but again, I would have preferred to have more weapons and armor sets. Getting into the top 3 with a podium finish, we have Democratic Detonation. All I should really have to say is Grenade Pistol. This thing is the best secondary in the game, period. It is nuts. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we all know it's good. It's literally a pistol that shoots grenades and can close bug holes and fabricators. There's a reason that so many players run it in their loadout. It is amazing. On to the primaries. These weapons were huge beneficiaries of the last patch. The Adjudicator and the Eruptor are the highlights. The Adjudicator is the second best AR in the game, right behind the Tenderizer. Some might argue it's the best, but I disagree. Nonetheless, it's incredibly powerful with high damage, decent capacity, manageable fire rate, good ergonomics, and impressive range. Plus, it has medium armor penetration, making it effective against any enemy, whether bot or bug. If you run the Adjudicator, you'll be well equipped for any situation that you run into. It's a great weapon to just equip and forget about changing your primary. The Eruptor is another really great weapon. It will never live up to the heights of the peak Eruptor a few months ago, but we're not here to talk about the past. In its current state, every shot deals more damage per shot than the anti-material rifle. Yes, a primary weapon does more damage than a support weapon. Keep in mind that's because the AMR is spammable and the Eruptor is not, but still, that's something to consider how powerful this weapon is. It can one-shot many medium-tier enemies with a well-placed shot, and has a decent horde clearing capability due to its explosive rounds. It's the only bolt-action sniper in the game, and it does the job so well that you kind of hardly remember that it's a bolt-action sniper and not a mini rocket launcher. Unfortunately, the exploding crossbow, while much better due to the buffs of last patch, is still not great. It can close bug holes and fabricators now, but that's really the only highlight it brings. It's not very good at anything else specifically. Its explosion radius isn't big enough to justify bringing it as a horde clear weapon, its single target damage isn't high enough to even one-shot hunters, and it doesn't function well as a marksman weapon either. It kind of just falls into a no man's land. Sure, it's a cool gimmick, everyone loves a crossbow, but if you ask me, this weapon needs a complete rework from the ground up. It is clear after multiple bouncing attempts that Arrowhead just has no idea what their direction was with this weapon, and that's disappointing because it had the potential to be very cool. The armor in Democratic Detonation is incredibly good. It's the only premium Warbond featuring all types of armor, light, medium, and heavy. That's a huge bonus, giving you a cool set of armor in every tier. The passives on the light and medium sets are nothing amazing, but the heavy set is my favorite heavy set in the game. It comes with the fortified passive, making you extremely tanky and hard to kill against automatons. It also just gives me Modern Warfare 3 Juggernaut suit vibes, and I can't pass that up. Sadly, the booster and grenades are the lowlights of this Warbond. The booster Expert Extraction Pilot is really bad. It lowers the extraction shuttle time by 18 seconds. Is shaving off 18 seconds at the end of the game worth using a booster slot over something that could have helped you throughout the match? I don't think so. This booster blows. The G123 thermite grenades are also not great. They stick to surfaces, burn that surface, then explode. While they can take down some tougher enemies like Chargers or Hulks if you use enough of them, it's not efficient. I'd rather have stuns, impact, incendiaries, or even the default frags. After using them for a few games, you'll likely get tired of them too and put them back in the closet. Overall, this Warbond is really good. It comes with great primary weapons, fantastic armor sets, and the best secondary in the game. The grenade pistol alone makes this Warbond worth, so it's just even more noteworthy that you have some great primaries and armor sets that go with it. In second place, we have Cutting Edge, an amazing Warbond that just barely got edged out of the top spot. Get it? Yeah, I'm hilarious. Every primary weapon in this Warbond is unique and solid. None of them are bad. The sickle is one of the most reliable weapons in the game. If you ask me, it's not S+ tier, but it's a really solid high B tier, maybe an A tier weapon. It has high damage, practically unlimited ammo since it's energy based, and it's already iconic in Helldivers 2. I literally look at this weapon as Mr. Reliable. It's the gun you can always use, no matter what mission or what enemies you're fighting against. It's a weapon that will get the job done no matter what you ask it to do. The ARC-12 Blitzer is another strong addition. It's especially effective against bugs due to its significant stagger and knockback abilities. I like to think this thing as like an electric cattle prod. You know those things? Like those big sticks with the electricity at the end? It is like having a taser that controls enemy waves. And it does this better than any other gun. It has a very unique playstyle, which is really good. I am happier to see more unique weapons than I am to see reskinned weapons with higher stats. I'd rather be able to adopt new playstyles and strategies, and the ARC-12 Blitzer does this for me. Punisher Plasma is a personal favorite for me. I don't really understand where the hate for this weapon ever began. I know people didn't like it on release, but it got buffed and has aged like fine wine. Despite this, for whatever reason, it's still one of the most underused and underrated weapons in the game. It's basically like having a mini grenade launcher that staggers enemies. It's not as good against bugs, but against bots, this is an A tier, maybe an S tier weapon in my opinion. I'd love this thing, more people need to give it a chance. However, despite how great the primaries are, the standout item in this Warbond is something you already know is coming. The stun grenades. They are objectively the best grenades in the game, fitting into any loadout perfectly. I don't need to sit here and explain more, because if you don't own them, you will see all of your teammates using them. Everybody uses these things for a reason, and they love them. Best grenades in the game. Additionally, the booster, Localization Confusion, while not great, is passable. It gives a 10% increase on enemy bug breach and dropship cooldown, which is okay. You won't notice its impact much, but statistically it does help, which is more than I can say for a lot of other boosters in this game. I wouldn't be mad or anything if someone on my team equipped this booster. Not that I'd be mad by a booster in the first place, but you get what I'm saying. If someone equipped it, it's fine by me. There are far better boosters in the game, but it's not the end of the world if you had to equip this thing. The main drawback of Cutting Edge is the armor sets. Despite looking cool, they come with the Electrical Conduit passive, which reduces arc damage by 95%. This passive is useless in most scenarios. And by most, I mean 99.9% of scenarios. The only time you ever want to equip this armor is if you're in a game with me and I have the arc thrower equipped, because I am just a wild shooter with that thing. By the way, if you do want to play with me and some really cool other people, join my Discord, link is in the description. Back on topic though, the Electrical Conduit armor sucks, and it is only potentially useful against the Illuminate, but those guys still haven't come out of the black hole, so right now it's like playing without an armor passive. The secondary weapon, the LAS-7 dagger, is also disappointing. It's an energy pistol that deals too little damage and overheats too quickly. I don't want to say anything else about this, but I will never use this weapon again unless it gets like 5 trillion buffs. Despite the blemishes that are the dagger and armor sets, Cutting Edge is one of the most worthwhile Warbonds in the game. Really, it is only weighed down by its armor sets, which is exactly why it just wasn't enough to get to our number 1 spot. In number 1, we have Steeled Veterans. It's kind of funny that the first Warbond in the game is still the best. It comes with the Breaker Incendiary, which is arguably the number 1 bug weapon in the game, and the Jar 5 Dominator, which is arguably the number 1 bot weapon in the game. Of course, those 2 points can be debated, but either way, it is undeniable that those 2 weapons are 2 of the top weapons in the game, period. There is a reason that most solo dives that you see feature the Breaker Incendiary. It is just an absolute monster against bugs. It shreds pretty much every unit in the game. Similar things can be said for the Jar 5 Dominator against bots. It one-taps Devastators in the head and is one of the rare primaries that comes with medium armor penetration. On top of the 2 primaries, this Warbond is going to include a top 3 secondary in the game with the Senator. This is a secondary weapon with medium armor pen, which is super nice to have. On top of just being a good weapon, it is also one of the coolest designed in the game. I mean, who doesn't want to be a space cowboy? Weapons aside, the armor sets here are also incredibly solid. They look very cool and feature prosthetics on the characters, which is unique to these armor sets only. Every piece of gear has servo assisted. However, there is no light set, but that isn't the end of the world. The grenades here too are some of the best in the game, and this Warbond is where you'll get the original incendiary grenades. They may not explode on impact, but they'll leave a very long-lasting AoE effect on the floor that can be used to absolutely devastate bug breaches. The incendiary grenades may not be as good as stun grenades, but they are still very, very good. Unfortunately, inside this Warbond, you're going to find 2 of the most useless items in the game. First of them is the Flexible Reinforcement Budget Booster. This thing is a total wet fart, alright? Please never use this thing, it genuinely sucks. All it does is lower the cooldown of reinforcements when you hit 0, and if you are already hitting 0 in the first place, I don't know if a slightly faster cooldown is going to help you finish the mission, I'm just being honest. Right next to this garbage booster is the Liberator Concussive, the worst of the Liberator brothers in the game. Honestly, this weapon is just an afterthought in the grand scheme of things. I often forget it exists until I go to change my primary and am reminded for just a brief few seconds that I own this weapon. Then I close the menus and forget all about it again. This thing trades fire rate, DPS, and damage for getting concussive rounds. And even after the buffs, it still isn't enough to make anyone want to use this weapon. However, no matter how useless the booster and Liberator are, the fact remains that everything else in this Warbond is a knock out of the park. It is my pick for the number 1 Warbond in Helldivers 2. So that's my list. As a reminder, from worst to best, we've got Polar Patriots, Viper Commandos, Democratic Detonation, Cutting Edge, and Steeled Veterans. I actually asked my community on YouTube what they thought the best Warbond was, and they seemed to agree with me on Steeled Veterans, but Cutting Edge was actually in 4th, which was really surprising to me. I think on something like this is pretty obvious, but everyone is going to have different opinions simply because this game allows for so many different playstyles. Just because I love the weapons in Cutting Edge could very well mean someone else hates them, you know? So just remember, this is just my list, not the right list, so let me know down below where I got it right and where I got it wrong. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video, it would really help me out. I very much appreciate you watching and sticking around till the end. It means a lot to me. Seriously, it does. Have a nice morning, evening, or night, and take care of yourself. Drink some water. I have been easy. Thanks for checking this video out. See ya!